where things get really interesting. It points to this huge battle brewing for the future of open-wheel racing. Yeah, we're talking about Colton Herta. If you're a fan of American racing, you absolutely know that name. He's a multiple race winner in IndyCar, and a ton of people had him pegged as a favorite for this year's Indy 500. But now, poof, he's not even going to be in the race. So the big question is, what on earth happened? How does a top-tier driver get forced to sit out the biggest race of his life? And look, just to be super clear, this isn't some rumor floating around the internet. Nope. It is official. Colton Herta will not be attempting to qualify for the 110th running of the Indy 500. So you're probably asking, what could possibly take a star driver out of the Indy 500, right? Like, did they have a last-minute fight? Did a contract fall through? The answer is no. The real reason is something that happens completely off the track, and honestly, it's a huge sign of this power struggle going on in global motorsports. It all comes down to the calendar. And we're not talking about some simple scheduling mistake like two local events accidentally getting booked on the same weekend. Oh no, this is way bigger. Think of it like a head-on collision between two entire worlds. On one side, you have the absolute pinnacle of American open-wheel racing. And on the other, you have the global juggernaut that is the Formula One feeder system. Okay, so here's the bombshell. Get this. For the first time ever, Formula 2, that's the main stepping stone to get into F1, is coming to North America to race. They're trying to cash in on F1's insane popularity boom here in the States, so they've scheduled new races in Miami and Montreal, smack dab in the middle of May. And that's not just a little overlap, folks. That is a direct conflict with the entire Indy 500 schedule. We're talking practice, qualifying, the whole shebang. So with this one move, the door has been slammed shut on any F1 or F2 driver who might have even dreamed of racing at the Brickyard. And, this goes way beyond just one driver missing one race. This single calendar clash sets off this massive ripple effect. It's a huge missed opportunity that ends up hurting the drivers, the teams, even giant global brands, and the racing series themselves. It's actually kind of wild when you stop and think about it. Just one strategic change to the F2 schedule, and boom, this huge chain reaction kicks off. It messes with Herta's career path, it definitely weakens the IndyCar grid for its most important race, and it throws a giant wrench into the marketing plans of some really big international sponsors. All right, so let's break down exactly who gets hurt here. At IndyCar, which is now missing a major star for its biggest event of the year. You know what, ironically, Formula 2 also kind of loses out on a chance to connect with this huge, passionate American audience. And then there's Cadillac, which is betting big on Herta. For them, this is pretty much a marketing disaster. Yeah, let's talk about Cadillac for a second, because this is a big deal for them. They have these huge ambitions to get into Formula One, and the plan was to have Colton Herta as their all-American star driver. And think about it, the Indy 500 is one of the only races out there that guarantees a massive TV audience here in the US. This was supposed to be their golden ticket, their chance to put their guy in front of his most important market. And now, that spotlight's just been turned off. Okay, so that's the driver and the sponsor. But what about the team that's caught in the middle of all this? For Andretti Global, this scheduling mess is a giant headache, and it puts them in a really tough spot. So here's the core of the problem for Andretti. In IndyCar, getting your hands on a top-tier engine lease from a manufacturer like Honda, well, it's not easy. It's like finding a golden ticket. Andretti managed to get one for a fourth car, a car they built from the ground up specifically for Colton Herta. So you see the problem, right? They've got this incredible race-winning engine just sitting there with no one to actually drive the car. And believe me, the clock is ticking, and it is ticking fast. This isn't a problem they can just figure out in a few months. The first official test is just 19 days away. Practice for the 500 itself kicks off in just over 5 weeks. I mean, the window to find a quality driver and get them comfortable at over 230 miles an hour is slamming shut. So who do you even call at this point? You have to understand the Indy 500 isn't a race where you can just plug in a rookie at the last second and hope for the best. That's a recipe for disaster. You need someone with serious, proven experience. So the shortlist gets pretty small pretty fast. You're looking at guys who've driven for Andretti before and know the system like Zach Veach, or maybe some other series veterans like Callum Ilott. But look, finding a driver who's available is one thing. Finding a driver who can actually be competitive is a whole different ballgame. And this quote right here, it just perfectly sums up how Andretti is thinking. They've got a winning car, a top-tier Honda engine. They are not interested in just sticking someone in the seat to be a back marker, someone who's just going to cruise around at the back of the pack. And really, that leads us to the harsh reality of the situation. From the very beginning, when this car was being planned, the word inside the paddock was crystal clear. This fourth car was the Colton Herta car. The entire program was built for him. The feeling was always, if he can't drive it, then the car just isn't going to run, period. Okay, so let's zoom out. What does all this actually mean for the Indy 500 itself? Well, the most likely outcome is a pretty big disappointment. And not just for the fans, but for the overall health of the entire series. It means we are almost certainly looking at what's called a short field. Now, for anyone who might not know, the Indy 500 has this sacred tradition, a 33-car starting grid. That's the magic number. So when fewer than 33 cars even show up to try and qualify, that's called a short field. And whenever that happens, it starts to raise some really tough questions about the health of the sport. So that brings us to the most likely ending to this whole saga. Andretti is probably just going to park that fourth car. Without Herta and with no elite driver ready to jump in, the risk, the cost, it's all just too high. And that means we'll have one less car trying to make it into the greatest spectacle in racing. You know, when you trace it all the way back, this whole mess was started by one thing: Formula One's expanding influence and massive ambition here in North America. So as F1 just keeps getting bigger and bigger, you have to ask, is this the future for IndyCar? A future where its biggest, most iconic race gets weakened by scheduling moves from a rival series? It's a tough question, for sure. And for the future of American motorsports, the answer could define everything for the next decade.